Okay, so tonight's lesson is lesson 4, and we are ready to move on to that equivalent fractions conversation. You've already started to kind of put 2 and 2 together that 4/8 equals half. 3/6 equals half. You are already, you're 2 steps, 5 steps to understanding equivalent fractions. It's just like Mrs. Crane is called Mrs. Crane. I'm called Janelle. I'm called Mama. I'm called Auntie Nell. I'm the same person. I just have a different name. Equivalent names. So there's this problem on page 257. Luis works summers at Maria's fruit farm. One day, Maria agreed to give Luis extra pay if he could sell 2/3 of her supply of peaches. They started with 12 bags of peaches, and Luis sold 8 of them. So the fraction that he sold is 8/12. Is that 2/3? Well, one way to do that is 8 bags is 8/12 of the 12 bags you wanted to sell. I think 2/3 is the same as 8/12. I can show you why. Luis made this drawing. And we've been using a lot of our fraction tiles, so this should look familiar. I can show you why. Luis made this drawing. Did Luis earn his pay? Well, from the looks of it, this is 2/3 right here, and it takes up exactly the same amount of space as 12/8. So yes, each third is the same size as 4/12. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2/3 is the same as 8/12. We would say these two fractions are equivalent. Two fractions that represent the same part of a whole are equivalent fractions. And we know that equa means equal. The fractions 2/3 and 8/12 are equivalent. So Maria said, you are just fracturing each third into 4/12. You can show what you did using numbers. Here's what Maria wrote. 2/3 equals 2 times 4 and 3 times 4. So she multiplied the numerator and the denominator by 4 equals 8/12. So that's how she got that equivalent fraction. So what did Maria do? She multiplied both by 4, makes an equivalent fraction with smaller unit fractions. So if you have a smaller unit, which is 12ths, because 12ths are smaller than thirds, right? So you want to multiply 2/3 by how many fourths fit into 1 to find that equivalent fraction. So multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by 4 makes an equivalent fraction with smaller unit fractions. So 8/12 is a smaller unit fraction, or 1/12 is smaller than 1/3. So one way to find equivalent fractions is to use our fraction bars that we've been using. And how do these fraction bars show equivalence? 1/3 equals 2/6 equals 3/9 equals 4/12 equals 5/15 equals 6/18. So these areas, each shaded area is the same. It's just divided into different fracturing parts. That word that Maria used, fracturing. So down here, we're going to do some equivalent fraction business. You can show how to find fractions equivalent to 1/3 numerically. Fill in the blanks and finish the equations, then explain how these fraction equations show equivalent fractions. So 2 parts. If I multiply the numerator by 2 and the denominator by 2, I get 2/6. And that gives me 2 equal parts. 1, 2. 3 equal parts. I'm going to multiply by 3. I'm going to multiply the top by 3, the bottom by 3. So then I get 1, 2, 3 ninths. If I want 4 equal parts, I'm going to multiply by 4. So I multiply the numerator by 4 and the denominator by 4. So I get 4, 2, 3, 4 twelfths. If I want 5 equal parts, I would multiply by 5, the numerator and the denominator. And I would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fifteenths. 6 equal parts times 6, 6 eighteenths. So how would I explain this? Then explain how these fraction equations show equivalent fractions. As long as you are multiplying the numerator and the denominator by the same amount, you're going to have the same section. So you're just taking your 1/3 and breaking it into 2 pieces. You're breaking your 1/3 into 3 pieces. You're breaking your 1/3 into 4 pieces. So we're going to look at 1/6 and 2/12, and we're going to tell whether the fractions are equivalent. So we're going to use the fraction bars for this, just for this one time around. And I can see that 1/6 is, in fact, equivalent to 2/12. 1/6, there's 2/12 right there. But I also know that if I multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, 1 times 2 is 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Now, how about 3/6 and 5 ninths? So 3/6, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be no. If I want to get from, I can't really multiply anything, either one of these by anything to get a 5, and I can't multiply 6 by anything to get a 9. So these are not equivalent fractions. 6/12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8/15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No. Again, I don't know any numbers that I can multiply by 6 to get to 8. So, and 12, I can't multiply anything by 12 to get 15. So these are not equivalent fractions. So using fraction bars is the first line of defense with equivalent fractions. But you also can use a multiplication table. The table on the right shows part of the multiplication table at the left. You can find fractions equivalent to 1/3 by using the products in the rows for the factors 1 and 3. Okay, so this next trick is kind of cool, and I didn't ever see this before, so I'm kind of excited about it. So if you were to take 1/3 on a multiplication table, and you said 1/3. So you have 1/3. And you wanted to know all of the equivalent fractions. You would just go down the line. 1/3, 2/6, 3 ninths, 4/12, 5/15. Are you getting the vibe here? 10/30. Those would all be equivalent fractions. So you could multiply by 6, multiply by top and bottom, and get 6/18. So 1/3 equals 6/18. Or you could go 6/18 divided by 6 and get 1/3. So it's like forward and backward. It will work. So how do I get from a 1 on number 6? How do I get from a 1 to a 4? I'm going to multiply by 4. So whatever I do to the top, I go to the bottom. What do I have to multiply by 1 to get to 9? 9. So basically what you're doing is division, friends. If you already know the number, 6 divided by 3 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 100 divided by 10 is 10. 48 divided by 8 is 6. So 5/8 is equivalent to 30/48. So down here, we're going to look at our fractions, and we're going to tell whether they're equivalent or not by using that multiplication and division knowledge. 4 and 16 divided by 4 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so these are equivalent. Whatever you do to the denominator, you need to be able to do to the numerator. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. Do I multiply 1 times 6? Am I going to get 6? So these are not equivalent. Let me say that again. 12 divided by 2, excuse me, is 6. So that would be 2 times 6 is 12. 1 times 6 is 6, not 5. So these are not equivalent. 100 divided by 10 is 10. 9 times 10 is 90. So these are equivalent. Hopefully this is starting to make some sense to you. We will do Puzzled Penguin in class tomorrow, so you can leave that blank. We'll talk about it. If you want to take a hack at it, go for it. We're going to find a fraction equivalent to the given fraction down here. You can use your multiplication table to help you out, or you could just find a fractional equivalent to the given fraction. So they give you 1/4. If you multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, you're going to get 2/8. If you want to just use multiples of 2, multiples of 3, multiples of 4, let's say we do 4. 4 times 4 times 4 equals 12/40 is equivalent to 3/10. Times 3, 8 times 3 is 24. So 3/8 is equivalent to 9/24. You can say 3 times 2, 4 times 2 equals 6/8. So 6/8 is equivalent to 3/4. I want to see if you can do 18 through 22. We will do Puzzled Penguin together in class tomorrow. But see if you can find a number to multiply the numerator and the denominator. Whatever you multiply the numerator by, you multiply the denominator by to get an equivalent fraction. And we will do some more with this tomorrow. We have 4 more lessons on equivalent fractions. So if you're a little, I don't get it, that's okay. I gave you a couple of different ways to do it tonight. So we will do some more practice with it tomorrow. Have a good afternoon.